Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on news about Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. My name is Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice Edu.
This evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, Speaker of Parliament approves request the National Intelligence Bureau to release two members of Parliament, Mustafa Yusuf and Kwame Asare, obeying A+ for investigations. We'll delve into exactly what this is all about. Stay with us.
Also coming up, Lands Minister reviews 76 illegal miners have been arrested, 11 excavators seized, and 7 forest reserves reclaimed. We'll be delving into this matter as well.
And global markets react to the imposition of new import taxes by the United States President Donald Trump, who will be engaging the experts and the local industry players on the implications going forward. Also, we're monitoring the happenings in the courts earlier today with respect to the Supreme Court granting the NDC candidates time to respond to Electoral Commission in the election case. Stay with us. We've got details and some reactions to this here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And just coming through, President John Dramani Mahama has relieved Charles Krakui of his duties as the Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. Stay with us. We've got details of that, plus the latest in business and sports over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. For now, let's settle for a summary of the news. Enyonam Haliga is here.
The summaries today: the ad hoc committee investigating the disruption during the ministerial vetting on January 30 has completed its report. Committee Chairman Emmanuel Kwesi-Bejra has confirmed that members of Parliament found culpable will face several sanctions, including the possibility of losing their seats. The Supreme Court has granted lawyers of the NDC parliamentary candidates in the disputed constituency a 7-day deadline to submit additional documents after they requested more time. Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission lawyers have responded to the NDC's affidavit saying, which seeks to overturn a High Court ruling ordering the Commission to collate and declare results for Ablikuma North, Techiman South, Tema Central, and Okankwi Central. MTN Ghana has officially ceased deductions of the 1% electronic transfer levy, that's the e-levy on all mobile money transactions, following the enactment of the new tax reform by the government. And before I go, the US President Donald Trump has unveiled a historic set of tariffs, including a 34% levy on Chinese imports and 20% tax on European Union goods, making a sharp escalation in global trade tensions.
Thank you so much. This morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Now, some news just been developing over the period. The President John Dramani Mahama has relieved Charles Krakui of his duties as the Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. In an official statement dated April 2, 2025, the President's Secretary, Dr. Callistus Mahama, directed Mr. Krakui to hand over his responsibilities to Stephen Wilfred Arthur, who will serve as Acting Director General. Dr. Mahama conveyed the President's appreciation for Krakui's service to the nation. The reason for the dismissal was not stated in the official communication. However, the decision comes amid ongoing restructuring within key government institutions. Arthur, the newly appointed Acting Director General, is expected to oversee operations and ensure a smooth transition of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. So that's some news coming through, and we'll keep an eye on how things unfold there. Let's go straight to Parliament now, because the Speaker of Parliament, I don't know about Albert Sumana Kisfo Bagwin, has given approval to a request by the National Intelligence Bureau to release two members of Parliament, Mustafa Yusuf and Kwame Asare, obeying also known as A+ for investigations. The MPs have been directed to appear before NIB officials for a preliminary interaction on Monday, April 7, 2025 at 10 a.m. at the Sir Emmanuel Charles Quist Conference Room in Parliament. Reasons behind the invitation is not yet known, but the notice from Parliament further cites Article 117 and 118 of the 1992 Constitution, as well as established protocols between Parliament and security agencies as key considerations in granting the request. The Speaker has, however, directed that the MPs will not report to the NIB headquarters, but instead engage with officials on Monday, April 7, 2025 at 10 a.m. in the Sir Emmanuel Charles Quist conference room at the office of the Speaker. We're going to get into this particular development shortly. Martin Pebo is a private legal practitioner. He's going to be joining us on the telephone on this, and especially because the persons involved are members of Parliament and the reactions thereof on this particular issue. We'll come back to it as and when we get through to Martin Pebo.
Ahead of that, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Akrofi Ocansey, has warned of more stringent regulations and measures to tackle the menace of illegal mining. At a press briefing this morning, the minister said so far about 76 illegal miners have been arrested, 100 excavators seized, and 7 forest reserves reclaimed.
Over 2 years of survey, we had not only the 44 forests reserve completely, but now no areas and from the area. Due to the dominance of these miners, illegal miners.
And that was Emmanuel Akrofi Ocansey, who is the Lands and Natural Resources Minister. We do apologize for the poor quality of that sound. Meanwhile, the Eastern South Regional Police Command have also arrested 11 individuals involved in illegal mining activities as fisher in the Abuakwa South municipality of the region. The suspects were found mining illegally on a rubber plantation. Regional Commander DCOP Ohene Boedi Bosman has pledged to take strong action against illegal miners in the area, emphasizing a commitment to addressing the issue effectively.
There were 2 Burkinabe and 9 Ghanaians involved. They are currently in our custody as I speak to you now. We are preparing them for court to face justice. I want to assure the general public and the communities within the Eastern South Command that the Ghana Police Service is resolute in fighting and maintaining law and order in this country.
We had there the Eastern Regional Police Commander, DCOP Ohene Boedi Bosman, and we'll come back to this story very shortly.
Let's go back to our earlier story where the Speaker of Parliament has given approval to a request by the National Intelligence Bureau to release 2 members of Parliament, Mustafa Yusuf and Kwame Asariobeng, also known as A+, for investigation. And Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner and is joining us on the telephone. Counsel, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yes, good evening. Mr. Ocansey.
It's good to have you. First of all, I want to find out from you how this strikes you, especially because of the immunity that members of Parliament are said to have been enjoying. Now the Speaker giving approval to a request by the National Intelligence Bureau to release 2 MPs for some investigations that the NIB is conducting.
Okay, so I would say that it's a positive development to the extent that it continues to strengthen our democracy. Why do I say so? You see, you mentioned immunity. So years ago, the immunity was being overused such that you couldn't hold an MP accountable. But you see that with time, it's been downsized, it's been curtailed so that MPs too can be held accountable, right? Yes, so it's a positive development for our democracy because you see, we know that we say that equality before the law, but in practice there are many exceptions, and so the MPs' partial immunity is one of those. Right, so that as I mentioned, in times past, if an MP owed you money and you even wanted to sue, every time they say, oh, he's on his way to Parliament. Even when Parliament was on recess, then they say, oh, he's come to attend a parliamentary committee meeting, etc. But you see that, excuse me, prior to this one, you know, the Speaker sat down with the Chief Justice, and then they agreed a protocol where they put days that MPs can be served and all that, making it easy for MPs to be held accountable. So this is good for our democracy. Of course, like we're saying, we don't know why they need them, what specific, so we are not saying they've done anything wrong. That's why they said investigations, right? Yes. And remember that even if you said they've done anything wrong, under the Constitution, a person is innocent until proven guilty. That is Article 19, Clause 2. Yes. So it's fine. As I said, it's good for our democracy that we can get MPs to help in investigations if need be, or they themselves to be held accountable if they did anything wrong.
But will there be any concerns whatsoever for this positive development, as you put it? Because from what we're learning now, these MPs have been directed to appear before the NIB. But then again, this is going to be in Parliament. So they are not going out of the jurisdiction of Parliament. They're going to be in Parliament. We understand in the Sir Emmanuel Charles Quist conference room in Parliament. That's within the Speaker's office as well. So how about that?
No, it's fine. The most important, the venue for me is of no moment. The most important thing we need now is the fact that they'll get access to them and ask them questions. That's a huge part of accountability. So the fact that it's in the Quist conference room in Parliament House, for me, it's not a detraction. It's okay. And it didn't start now. I think even Speaker Kwe also had that kind of arrangement, all right? But if I've forgotten, but at least back then, you remember there's Atu Forson's own other MPs, Mama Yarga also, and a number. Yes. So that's what they've been doing. It's fine. Look, Mr. Ocansey, I can't emphasize enough the fact that whilst Parliament is in session, now we are able to get access to MPs to serve them, get access to MPs to come and answer some questions, all right, to be able to move investigations and other things forward. It's a huge step forward. Yes, it's a huge step forward, because as I'm talking to you, my mind is going back to those days where, if you needed an MP, they'll tell that he's on his way to attending at or returning from proceedings of Parliament. That is Article 117. It was stretched to cover everything. You give the way to people who were owed money by MPs, or somebody who says an MP has taken his land or any other matter. I'll tell you, the service, you will suffer, or divorce. I remember one, I will not mention him. There was a former minister in the, the Akufo-Addo regime. His divorce, because he's an MP, he would dodge divorce, because he didn't want his wife to get some properties. Today, I'm here. Tomorrow, I'm there. Frustration. Hey, master, don't play. Look, we'll never finish recounting the stories if we want to go into them. How it was a struggle, tug of war to get an MP to serve that MP. Hey, so things have moved forward. So it shows you that our democracy is moving forward strongly. And even the election results, I can't also keep repeating this enough. That overwhelming confidence that we've given to the NDC, it tells you that our democracy is moving forward. Lots of people, look, just 2 decades ago, university students, it was difficult. It was like an anathema to say you are NDC in University of Ghana. Even common meetings, they will meet in secrecy. So some of these things I mentioned, it shows you that we are developing. So sometimes it takes time. But now, at least, we've broken the myth around Article 117 by making sure that the Speaker himself is able to allow law enforcement agencies and also officials from the court to come and serve MPs whilst Parliament is in session. It's a huge step forward. Very huge. For me, it's commendable.
Councillor, I do appreciate your time on this. But before you leave us, there's some news just coming through about the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA. We understand they formally petitioned President Akrofi, that's President John Dramani Mahama, to initiate constitutional proceedings for the removal of the Auditor General, Johnson Ekwama Asiedu. we're learning that the petition was filed today at the Jubilee House and cites allegations of high crime, misconduct, abuse of office, and constitutional violations, essentially invoking Article 187.13 of the 1992 Constitution, which outlines the process for the removal of the Auditor General. I mean, first off, not to get into so much of the detail of this said petition, what part will this petition take from today?
Okay. So now that has been given to President Mahama, then it will go to the Chief Justice to do a prima facie determination that to look into it. Of course, we are looking various stages of it. That's assuming everything with the petition is okay, then the Chief Justice will invite, will give a copy to Mr. Johnson Esedu, Ekwamo Esedu to answer, so more or less his defense, so that after that, then the Chief Justice will do the prima facie determination, and so if it's found that there are no grounds or the petition is not good enough, then it means that will be the end of the matter at the prima facie level, because the Chief Justice will give a ruling. Remember, Akufo-Addo gave a ruling when the petition was presented against the Chief Justice, just in the last days of Akufo-Addo's administration. I think his ruling came out on the 3rd of January 2025. So in the same way, Chief Justice Tokonu will give a ruling. So if the ruling may be a dismissal of the matter, or if there's enough evidence, then the Chief Justice will say there's a prima facie case, and so based on that, it should move forward, and that it will go to stage 2. Then the stage 2 will involve the setting up of the tribunal with the 5-member panel. 3 of them will be non-lawyers, non-ministers, non-MPs, and then 2 will be judges, right? Then they will go into it, and then so that's the place where everybody can call witnesses. So the accusers will present their case, call witnesses. The judges who can look into the case to be sure that everything is good, because it's supposed to be inquisitorial. So the judges have a bigger role to play. They won't just leave it to the parties. They can take more active part in it than if you go to our ordinary court, where it's adversarial. So you leave the 2 parties to fight their fight, then you determine. But this one there is more of inquisitorial, so the judges have the duty to be more active in the investigations. So they will go into it and then see how they can put it, and then come out with a decision on it.
Counsel, I appreciate you for this. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner, joining us with his thoughts on this.
And let's bring you some more here on Hot Edition. And some Ghanaians have welcomed the cancellation of the electronic transfer levy with excitement, calling on the government to lessen the cost of living burden on citizens. Now, 3FM can confirm that major charging entities have stopped deductions for e-levy after the Ghana Revenue Authority's directive. Christian Yale performed some transactions and came through with this report.
Consequent to President Mahama's assent and the GRA directive to charging entities, I put up a test to find out whether the charges or deductions for e-levy have been officially stopped. I first transferred an amount of 870 cedis from my bank account to my mobile money wallet. And out of that 870 cedis that I transferred, there was no charge for e-levy. But it is worth noting that according to the law, a transfer from one's bank account to the mobile money wallet shouldn't be taxed. I used to suffer e-levy charges whenever doing bank transfers to Momo wallet because I had not captured my Ghana card details on my bank account for that purpose. And then a few minutes after midnight on Thursday, I then transferred 869 cedis from my Telecel cash wallet to a mobile money wallet, which also did not attract any e-levy charge.
The 2 billion Ghana cedis that government is going to lose will now come to Ghanaians. So in effect, individual Ghanaians who ordinarily would have lost 2 billion Ghana cedis will now retain their 2 billion Ghana cedis.
On Thursday, MTN Ghana announced that it has officially removed e-levy deductions from mobile money transactions. What is clear is that all illegal deductions made after the GRA order will be refunded to affected customers.
If this is the reason why we are repealing the e-levy, then e-levy is 1%. Why don't we go and repeal VAT, which is about 17%, if we are looking at ensuring that there's disposable income for citizens?
The e-levy, which was initially introduced at 1.75% before being revised to 1%, imposed taxes on electronic transactions, including mobile money payment, bank transfers, and inward remittances. It faced huge backlash and opposition from the public, who described it as a burden and failed to raise expected revenue.
I say it's a very good one. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC has proven beyond reasonable doubt that they are for the people. When you are being paid your salary, and then you are being deducted your taxes, and then you decide to keep your money in your mobile money wallet, and you make up your mind to do any electronic transaction, the government says, which is the past government, will still take money from you, which is double taxation.
So what might be bring account when you be bring account? Oh, at least you could lot of fairness home. And also now on home.
The repeal of this tax is expected to revitalize the sector, boost digital transactions, and enhance financial inclusion.
Christian Yale filed that report. Let's now speak to the president of the Mobile Money Agents Association, Evans Otunfo. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition.
Good evening to you, and thank you for having me. To a quick correction, I'm the General Secretary, not the President.
So, Mr. Otunfo, thank you very much for that correction. But would you say that this cancellation, as it were, is good news for your members?
Yes, it is a good news for members, not just members alone, for the entire country. As we have always been saying, the e-levy has remained a burden to consumers and then to our businesses also. And so its cancellation comes to us as a relief, and it is really going to position us very well, for the business to really grow as we are all envisaging.
Day one of the e-levy removal, how would you describe the impact on business for your members?
It will be too early, but the signals that we have picked suggest that the euphoria is very positive, and members are really happy. But what would really happen now is the burden or the tax to, educate our customers to really understand the difference between the e-levy and then traditional mobile money charges. So this is the only tax or work that is available in terms of providing the right clarity and communication. But apart from this, business for the first time since the e-levy has been repealed has been very smooth, and there's so much excitement among the agents network and our customers that are visiting all the agent touch points across the country.
Obviously, both parties are happy, but what do you anticipate as the eventual impact on the business of your members?
Yeah, so what we are anticipating now is that we'll be experiencing much traffic, we'll be experiencing higher volumes and values of transactions on our platforms. We are also expecting that our partners, i.e. the banks and other stakeholders that play a significant role in making sure that our businesses are running smoothly. The banks, especially the loan credits that they do design for Momo agents, which for some years now, most of these banks have stopped as a result of the challenge posed by e-levy. We are expecting that now that the levy is off, the banks will be able to continue continue to do business with the mobile money agents. And then, of course, we're also looking forward to, our commissions being enhanced as a result of the traffic that would be coming, and then persons that have decided to cut down their transactional volumes, and also those that have decided not to use Momo again as a result of the e-levy. All of these people would really rescind their decisions and start to use more of the digital channels or the electronic means of paying for goods and services. So on the whole, we are expecting that our business will be well positioned to, get all the benefits that the cancellation will be bringing.
Tufo, thank you so much for speaking to us. And you had there Evans Utufo. He's the General Secretary of the Mobile Money Agents Association, and still on taxes, and an economist and the West African Regional Director for CAT International, Apia Kusi Adomako, says that the imposition of 10% minimum baseline tariff for all import into the U.S. is an indication that African countries should trade among themselves. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a shocking 10% minimum baseline tariff for all import into the U.S., with dozens of countries hit with rates multiple times higher. Now, these new import taxes imposed by President Trump through an executive order have sent economic shockwaves around the world, including Ghana. But the U.S. president believes that they are necessary to addressing trading imbalances to protect American jobs and manufacturing. And we'll be hearing from the economists. But first, listen to President Donald Trump after he signed the executive order.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less, so how can anybody be upset? European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You think of European Union, very friendly, they rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. Japan, very, very tough, great people. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. Prime Minister just left, and he's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades. And it was only 7 years ago when I came in, we started with China and charged them. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Brazil, 10%, 10%. Bangladesh is 74%. So you see what's going on. Pakistan, 58%. Sri Lanka, 88%. So what we're doing is we're taking not the full, we could take the full 88%. The numbers are so disproportionate, they're so unfair. At the same time, we will establish a minimum baseline tariff of 10%. You notice that on the chart. And that'll be on other countries to help rebuild our economy and to prevent cheating.
And you had the U.S. President Donald Trump. Well, West African Regional Director for CAT International and economist Apia Kusi Adomako has been speaking on this. Listen to exactly his thoughts on it.
The tariffs by President Trump is a clear reminder to African countries that if we learn to trade among ourselves, we will not be exposed to unilateral tariffs and other punitive tariffs and other trade barriers. Even when you take tariff aside, sending your goods to the U.S. market
you need to meet certain criteria. For example, when you want to take your cucumber to the European market, the size of it, the length of it, all of those things matter. But if Nigeria is exporting cucumber to Ghana or carrot to Ghana, all those non-tariff measures to trade will not matter. And so I think that this measure by the U.S. president is a clear indication that African countries need to do more to trade among ourselves. Once we trade among ourselves, one, it is cheaper to trade among ourselves. Two, we are also, of course, there are certain goods and services that African countries cannot produce, and so we need to get them from the U.S. market. And of course, even under the AFCFTA, we still need to buy some goods from other countries. So, but if we start to trade more among ourselves, we will reduce our reliance on other non-African countries for our goods and services.
And you heard the economist Kwesi Demarco. Let's bring you some more as regards the details of this tax imposition by the U.S. president on goods imported into the U.S. First, goods exempt from U.S. tariffs, steel or aluminium articles and autos or auto parts, also copper, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, lumber, again, bullion, energy product and certain minerals unavailable in the U.S. These are the goods that are exempt from the 10% tax flat tariffs given by Donald Trump. Also, impact of Ghana's 10% tariff imposition. So total export to the U.S. as of 2024 was 6.95 billion Ghana cedis, that represent about 40.7% of North American export. Cocoa beans and products, that's 3.14 billion Ghana cedis, representing 11.5% of total cocoa export. 10% tariff impact, 695 million additional cost, that's million Ghana cedis, and cocoa export alone would be 314 million Ghana cedis in extra tariffs. And let's speak to Dr. Joseph Obeng. He is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA. He joins us live on the phone. Doc, if you can hear us, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you also.
I mean, for years, there have been calls for the deepening of regional integration and trade. Of course, we've had the AFTA. I'm just wondering how you think this tariff imposition by the U.S. affects your members.
Yeah, in a way, it's going to affect us so far as your major dependency is on that corridor for trading. If and especially if those goods are not particularly needed. You realize that he has selected some items and left them out of the 10%. It means that those are the items that the American government need. The advantage here is also that this tax is not on the local supplier. It's on the American importer. And so, depending on the need of those items, I don't think it's going to actually affect. The access to the market is what is going to be limited. But, trade is not limited to just one particular place. Trade does not know boundaries. So, the fact that we can also fund other markets and all that, and other alternatives, and then also other smart ways of reducing our prices so that it will mitigate those things, so will make us very relevant. But as to the reduction of business and all that, depends on the availability of those goods in America. If they don't have them in America, definitely, regardless of the taxes that is imposed on them, people will still buy.
So actually, if you read what's is in as in the details of this tax, the U.S. government has actually exempted some goods from the tax, like steel, aluminium articles and autos or auto parts, copper, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, lumber, bullion, also energy products and certain minerals unavailable in the U.S. So those are not even affected by the latest development in terms of the trade relations with other countries.
So those are the essentials. So they are just being smart to protect those essentials that is needed, the raw materials and all that. And so that is a policy of a state. It depends on how we also manage, because is there anything that we can do with that policy as Trump has done it? No. So what we have to do is to be smart about going about our things, finding new destinations, and also making sure that our goods are so relevant to them in terms of pricing, packaging, quality, and all that. And then because we pay duties here and we still import those goods. So the same way, the importers in America will also learn how to pay these duties and these taxes. And so it depends on how we also package our things here, and then further relationship with the buyers over there. Yeah.
Dr. Joseph Obeng, thank you so much. And you heard that Dr. Joseph Obeng, he's the president of GUTA. Let's return to our story about illegal mining and the menace, this time around on issues that affect the safety and welfare of officers deployed to lead the fight. And officers also of regulatory and law enforcement agencies working in mining areas in the central region are said to be faced with constant threats and danger from illegal miners, making them feel unsafe in their line of duty. The Environmental Protection Agency's director in charge of the Upper Dentra, East and West, Chifu Etimokwa, and the Himan Lower Dentra District Engineer Audu Yoda has been speaking about this.
What are some of the dangers you are exposed to from these miners?
So first of all, when you go to the field, number one, access to the field is number one challenge. If you don't have a purposely built vehicle, you having access to where the small scale miners are becomes difficult, because there are areas where you don't have properly made roads that can take you to somebody's concession. Things are done in a haphazard way. So everywhere is muddy, and you need a strong vehicle to access some of these sites. That's number one challenge. Number two is actually identifying specific locations where miners are doing mining. Sometimes somebody has a concession, and before you realize they are into somebody's other concession working. And sometimes you go to the field, you don't even find the owner of the concession on the land, but it's a land or concession that has been taken over by illegal miners. Then it becomes so difficult to even control or even assess the land. Yeah.
Do you face security threats?
A lot of the times. We are coming out with modalities on the approach that we are going to use to deal with the menace now. In the past, it has been organization of task forces to go into direct combat with the miners, but this time around the approach is changing, and there's also different aspects of the fight, in the sense that we are going to have people directly dealing with the forest area. We are going to have people looking at the water bodies, and then we are going to have people looking at those on land, on a bare land, to ensure that the measures are properly followed.
And you have Audu Yoda. He is the Environmental Protection Agency's director in charge of the Upper Dentra, East and West, Chifu Atimokwa, and the Himan Lower Dentra District in the Central Region. Let's speak to Darrell Bosu. He is with Arusha, Ghana. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening to you as well. I believe everything's fine. And thank you for having me.
I mean, earlier we told a story about the lands minister so far telling us that 76 illegal miners have been arrested, 100 excavators seized, and 7 forest reserves have been reclaimed. I believe from where you stand, it must be good news for you.
So thanks a lot. But I think that it's too early for us to really be talking about successes. I would still remain cautious, because, yes, people have been arrested. We need to show by deterrence or for deterrence that people who are arrested engaging in galamsey will be appropriately prosecuted and will face the full results of the law. We need to demonstrate that. So we've arrested them, what has happened to them. And the first reserves in question, I think we need to do more than just saying that we have reclaimed them. Reclaiming them, yes, but I think the question is, can we guarantee that these people are not going to go back? Because it looks like right now we are playing a cat and mouse game with these people. When we are on site, they find some place to go, and then when we are gone, they come back. So we need to be very careful how we are reporting in terms of achievements and all of that. At the moment, I'm not going to say we are happy. Let's wait to see how these efforts are sustained over time. Then we can be very certain about the permanency of this effort, and we're not going back to what it used to be before.
Another question that comes up is whether or not these arrests are even sustainable in the first place. Do you see that?
Yes, I think so far, I mean, we are not seeing any sustainability to these measures. And maybe it will take some few months down the line. Let's give ourselves 6 months to see if really these efforts are going to be sustainable. We might have some confidence in the leadership. For example, if we talk about the First Commission, they have a very Herculean tax to keep these tax away from the First Reserve. But the question is, are the First Commission sufficiently resourced to be able to be on a rapid response approach, always ready to deal with people who are going in there? At the moment, they always require joint effort from the military and the police to help them do this. Are we going to sustain the support for the First Commission? I think these things, answering them will be very critical to whether we're able to sustain the fight. And this is where right now we don't see any such strategies. But I have heard the minister talk about some military advisors helping them to already prepare, because now they are seeing these people as terrorists than before. So hopefully the strategy will change. We are going to see more relentless and persistent action from the ministry that we have seen in the past. So I want to say, let's give it some time. At the moment, it's too early to say whether it's going to be sustainable or not. We just need to give it time, and we'll eventually get to know whether we are in for a more long-term solution to this problem.
Indeed. Another issue of concern is also the safety of law enforcement agencies at the front line. Yesterday, unfortunately, we lost one police officer, and I also do remember that just when it was announced that 7 forest reserves had been reclaimed, we had an officer injured within a forest reserve. What would you recommend?
You see, I have to say that I listened a bit to the Honorable Minister talk about what they've done so far, the state of affairs and all of that. I get the impression that they really underestimated what we are confronted with. Even though they've been with us all these years, we're talking about galamsey, talking about repealing LI 2462. They've underestimated the kind of impunity, the level of distraction going on, and the mentality and the wickedness of the people who are involved in this galamsey. So these issues have been already told them, look, these are not things that you treat with kid blows. You need to go in fully prepared and all of that. So I think that the police officer losing his life and the First Commission staff and all of that should tell us that, look, this is a very risky endeavor we're embarking on. We need to be prepared, and we need to go in fully, and nobody should go to the field to deal with these people if they're not sufficiently protected or sufficiently armed. That's why I say that resourcing these groups, both the police and the military, as well as the First Commission staff with logistics, is very, very crucial to winning this fight. We can't go to a forest and find ourselves outnumbered because we're less in number than the people on the side. So I think we need to also use our intelligence at our disposal. We have our intelligent men and women capable to know who is facilitating galamsey. But there's almost BNI in every district. I remember in the previous administration, we were doing a tree planting exercise, and there was a BNI person we spotted among us. So we asked ourselves, what is a BNI person doing in a tree planting activity? I mean, what is the... So we need to use the same availability of our intelligence team to get to the bottom of this, rather than let our law enforcement agency officers and also people who work in the regulatory agencies go and be exposed to all the risks of being attacked by these stars. I think it's a very serious business, and we need to prepare adequately before we go out there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daroboso, for speaking to us. And Daroboso is Deputy Director with Arusha, Ghana. You're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Now, the Roads Minister has cautioned road contractors that an award of contracts will largely depend on their ability to complete existing projects they are undertaking to its fullest completion. Now, speaking in Ahafo, Kwame Agbodza said that the huge debt overhang on the ministry can only be dealt with in a pragmatic approach that will ensure quality of roads built.
I acknowledge that none of them have raised some issues about some of the things which are not necessarily part of your scope. Like you said, there was some town roads in total of about 3 kilometers. We'll take those discussions up with Newmont. So even if they will not do it, I'm not sure leaving the site with an arrears of 3 kilometers gives us any good in it. So I would direct that urban road. I'm sure it's an urban road. Highway is okay because you are doing that here. I have to look at it and see what we can do. The challenge is that I am not a fan of continuous variation of projects because that is part of the reason we are where we are. Because sometimes variation is 100% of the project. So maybe what is doing is that we don't do enough consultation. Because if we do enough consultation, these issues would have come up and be taken as part of the original project. But if we sit in Accra and just award the job, when you turn up, the people will tell you, yes, you are doing right, but left is our priority. And that is why when you go around across the country, even road is better. When you come to some sectors, we have built markets in towns that nobody actually uses because nobody probably consulted as to where the people really wanted to carry out their trade. Like I can assure you, we are committed to supporting you to complete this project. You have capacity to do this. Your next job, which is new job, will depend on how you do this one. So we'll do replacement. That is how I'm telling you. Every contractor, I'll pick a number of projects and say, if you want a new one, complete this one, then I'll replace the new one with the ones you've completed. I think that is also fair. So we are confident that we don't need to talk too much about this.
And you heard that the Roads Minister Kwame Agbodza. The Supreme Court has ordered lawyers for NDC parliamentary candidate for Ablekuma North, Okaikwe Central, Techiman South and Tema Central to file documents in response to the Electoral Commission. The electoral body filed documents to oppose the NDC's application to quash the High Court's decision, which ordered the collation and declaration of results of the disputed constituencies. Court Affairs correspondent Lord Edwasari has more.
At the Apex Court on Thursday, April 3, Counsel for the National Democratic Congress candidates led by Seth Nyaba prayed for an order to extend the time to file a reply to the Electoral Commission's affidavit opposing the substantive request to quash the High Court's decision.
Counsel for the Electoral Commission, Justin Amenugo, vehemently opposed the application filed by the lawyers of the NDC. He argued that they have had the last 2 months to file their responses since he filed this response to their application in January of this year. So listening to the responses, Justice Dakwa Asare granted the application filed by the lawyers of the NDC and ordered them to file their responses within 7 days. Same orders went to the interested parties for them to file their responses as well.
Lawyer for the NDC parliamentary candidates spoke after the hearing.
In the EC's statement of case, they made reference to a letter that was written by the EC to the Minority Caucus in 2020 in relation to the Techiman South parliamentary election issues in 2020. But that letter is not before the court. So it's part of the reasons why we want to attach that letter to our supplementary affidavit in response to the EC's affidavit in opposition to our proposal. And then in the EC statement of case, they've also raised some fundamental legal issues which we deem it necessary to respond to by way of writing.
To see how things will look like in the coming days as the substantive case is yet to be heard.
Sorry, Lord Edwasari filed that report, and shortly the business team will be joining us with the latest. Don't go away.
In a 3FM 60-day Fit Stats Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen?